The story starts with two American couples vacationing in Mexico. While hanging out, they meet this German guy named Matthias. He tells them he's there with his brother, who went off to explore some old Mayan temple with his girlfriend. Matthias plans to meet up with them, and when Jeff, one of the American guys, hears about this temple, he's immediately interested. He convinces everyone else to go check it out with Matthias. The next morning they grab a cab and head out. But as soon as the driver hears they're going to some abandoned temple, he gets spooked. He tries to warn them off, saying it's cursed or something. But Dmitri, a friend of Matthias, offers the guy extra cash to take them anyway. Even with the money, the driver refuses to go all the way and drops them off miles from the site. So they have to hike through the jungle to get there. As they walk, Matthias spots his brother's Jeep parked off the road, which seems promising. After a quick rest, they continue on and find this hidden trail near a stream. It's the only path to the temple, but it's been blocked on purpose. Still they push forward. Eventually they reach the temple, and it's stunning. They're all amazed, thinking the hike was totally worth it. But things start going downhill fast. While Amy's taking pictures, a Mayan man suddenly appears, clearly distressed and yelling in a language they don't understand. Two more locals show up, and Amy, thinking nothing of it, steps back onto some vines and snaps another photo. That tiny step changes everything. The lead Mayan guy loses it. He pulls out a gun. Dmitri, trying to calm things down, offers them the camera. But the second his foot touches the vines, the Mayans go berserk. One of them stabs him with a spear, then another shoots him in the head. Everyone is shocked. In a panic, the group scrambles up the steps of the temple to get away. The Mayans don't follow. Instead, they surround the structure and trap them at the top. It's clear, they're not going to let them leave. At the top, they find two tents, probably left by Matthias' brother and his girlfriend, but no sign of either of them. Eric tries calling for help, but there's no signal. Then Matthias notices something that makes his stomach drop. Wrapped in vines is a body. He pulls them back and it's his brother. Dead. They realize they're truly alone. Jeff uses binoculars to scan the area below and sees the Mayans setting up their own tents. They're not just waiting, they're settling in. It's clear they'll be stuck there for a while. With barely any food or water, the group hopes someone will realize they're missing and send help. Then suddenly they hear a phone ring. It's coming from a well near the top of the temple. Thinking it might be a lifeline, Matthias volunteers to go down and get it. But halfway down, the rope snaps and he falls hard. He's still alive but badly hurt. The others check the remaining rope and realize it's too short. So they decide to send Stacy, the lightest, down to help him. She has to jump the last few feet and ends up injuring her leg too. Matthias is in even worse shape, pinned in place by his injuries. Amy tries to reason with the Mayans, pleading for help. They ignore her. In frustration, she throws a vine at them. It hits a young boy standing nearby. Suddenly, the entire mood changes. The Mayans pull their weapons, not on the group but on the boy. They push him toward the temple. When he won't cooperate, the lead Mayan shoots him without hesitation. That's when it clicks. Jeff realizes the Mayans aren't afraid of them, they're terrified of the vines. And because the group touched the vines, they're being quarantined. They manage to rig a stretcher and haul Matthias out of the well by the time the sun rises. But what they find the next morning is beyond disturbing. Stacy wakes up screaming. The vines are crawling into her injured leg. One is actually burrowing inside. Eric tries to get them out, but it's horrifying. Then Amy lifts the blanket covering Matthias and gasps. His legs are completely wrapped in vines. Flesh is missing, bones are exposed. The vines are feeding on him. It's clear there's no saving him now. Just then they hear the phone ringing again. Desperate, Amy and Stacy decide to go back into the well with torches to find it. They trace the sound to a cave covered in vines. Inside, they find the long-dead body of Matthias' brother's girlfriend, still holding a phone. But it's broken. That's when they realize something chilling. The ringing isn't coming from a real phone anymore. It's coming from the vines themselves. They're mimicking the ringtone. As Amy reaches toward the flower making the sound, the vine lunges at her. She pulls away just in time, but now the vines are fully awake. They snatch away the torch and the vines begin moving more aggressively. Amy and Stacy panic and make a run for it. Stacy gets caught in the vines, but Amy pulls her out just in time. They scream for Jeff and Eric to haul them up. As the rope was being pulled up, the vines surged toward them like predators closing in. But thanks to Jeff and Eric's frantic efforts, Amy and Stacy barely made it out in time. Shaken and breathless, Amy told them what they had discovered. The vines weren't just plants, they were mimicking the sound of the phone to lure them in. The whole thing was a trap. They had to get out before they ended up like Matthias' brother and his girlfriend. Eric was done waiting. He argued they had a better chance finding a way out than just sitting around waiting to die. But Jeff disagreed. With the Mayans surrounding the temple and armed to the teeth, any escape attempt seemed like suicide. He still held on to hope that someone would realize they were missing and send help. After some arguing, the group eventually decided to stay put and hope for a rescue. But the longer they stayed, the worse things got. Food and water were almost gone. They were splitting a single loaf of bread between 4 people. Matthias' condition was also worsening fast. His legs were infected, and it was clear if they didn't amputate he'd die. Matthias didn't even hesitate. If losing his legs meant he could survive, he was all in. But what followed was brutal. They had nothing but a small knife and a heated pan. First they used rocks to break his legs. Then, with trembling hands, they slowly cut through the muscle and skin. When it was over, they cauterized the wounds using the red-hot pan. Matthias screamed the whole time. As if the pain wasn't bad enough, the vines quickly slithered in and dragged his severed legs away. Despite everything, their effort was in vain. That night, Matthias' condition tanked. What they didn't know was that the vines had already started creeping into his body, through his mouth. By the time Jeff noticed, it was too late. Matthias was dead. If they'd known that earlier, they never would have put him through all that pain. His death rattled the group to the core. Stacy, already injured and terrified, started spiraling. She became convinced the vines were inside her. In a panic, she grabbed a knife and tried to show the others. Jeff managed to wrestle it away and Eric tried to calm her down. But then something even more terrifying happened. The vine blossoms started mimicking Stacy's voice, taunting her, repeating things she'd said. The realization hit them hard. These vines weren't just mimicking sounds, they were intelligent. They could learn and manipulate. Later that night, while Amy and Jeff kept watch, they noticed something strange. The Mayans were sprinkling salt around the area, maybe as some kind of barrier to keep the vines from spreading. It became clear the locals were terrified of the plants for a reason. The next morning, Eric came out of the tent and called them over. The vines weren't just in Stacy's mind. They were moving under her skin, alive and writhing. The only option left was to cut them out. The group did what they had to do. Screams echoed as they sliced open her thigh and back, pulling out the invasive vines. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, another one started poking out from her forehead. The others avoided her gaze. She noticed, and it only made her more paranoid. She insisted something was still inside her. They realized if they kept cutting, she'd bleed out anyway. They couldn't keep this up. At that point, they knew waiting any longer was a death sentence. They needed to escape that night. But Stacy had already made up her mind. She crawled out of the tent, found the same knife they used earlier, and tried to perform the surgery herself. When the others noticed she was gone, they rushed outside, only to find her covered in blood, having mutilated her own body. Eric ran toward her, trying to talk her down. But Stacy had snapped. Without warning, she turned and stabbed Eric right in the chest. He dropped immediately. The vines didn't wait. They dragged his body away into the brush. Stacy was suddenly hit with the horror of what she'd done. Sobbing and in pain, she begged Amy to end it for her. Jeff, knowing there was no saving Stacy now, did what he had to do. Now it was just Jeff and Amy. To give Amy a chance, Jeff came up with a risky plan. He smeared blood all over her, making her look dead, then carried her down the temple steps. The Mayans, seeing what looked like a lifeless body, didn't intervene. Jeff laid her down and slowly backed away, drawing attention to himself. Once he'd led the Mayans far enough away, he shouted Amy's name at the top of his lungs. She jumped up and ran as fast as she could. The Mayans instantly realized what had happened and opened fire. Jeff was struck by a flurry of arrows, one after another. He collapsed barely alive. As the vines crept toward him, the Mayan leader stepped forward and put a bullet in his head, ending his suffering. Hearing the gunshot, Amy knew Jeff was gone. But she had no time to grieve. She kept running, pushing through the jungle, branches cutting her skin. The Mayans were hot on her trail. Somehow she reached their jeep. Hands shaking, she fumbled with the keys, finally getting the engine to roar to life. She tore down the dirt road, speeding away from the nightmare. Breathing heavily, Amy thought it was finally over. But then something fell off. She reached up to touch her face and froze. There was movement. The vines had infected her too. And in one final gut punch, the movie ends with 2 curious tourists arriving at the same temple, completely unaware of the hell waiting for them inside. If you enjoy deep dive recaps like this, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment and let us know which movie you'd love to see next.